Good morning, everyone. In today's video, we are going to discuss the upcoming major winter storm that will impact the southern Mid-Atlantic region. This does include parts of eastern Tennessee, much of North Carolina, parts of South Carolina, and parts of Virginia, as well as parts of extreme southern Maryland going into the day Thursday and lasting through early Friday morning. Before we get into this video, though, we do ask you to please subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're almost at 3,000 subscribers. And if you don't mind, please hitting that like button and really give us that you appreciate our videos. And we'll have plenty more videos going forward into the future. But now let's get into this, what will likely be a major winter storm for the southern Mid-Atlantic region here, going into Thursday and lasting through Friday morning. So we're looking at the latest NAM model. This is the latest short-range NAM model. We're going to start off here looking at the precipitation type valid for Thursday morning at 7 a.m. And we have what is predominantly rain over the southeastern United States, with the northern Arkansas area seeing a little bit of snow begin to break out, as well as the mountain regions in the eastern Tennessee and western North Carolina there. But the bulk of the storm doesn't begin until later Thursday morning and into Thursday afternoon. And this is really when the bulk of the accumulations occur across western Tennessee and the mountains of North Carolina, as well as into the Raleigh-Durham area going into Thursday afternoon. Now, according to the NAM model, this particular run takes this low pressure pretty far north, and that allows for the rain-snow line to stay across much of the northern half of North Carolina and keeps South Carolina pretty much on the rainy side of things. Now, the only areas that could see some wintry precipitation across South Carolina is the far northern parts of the state. But according to the NAM model, this is pretty much a rain event for those areas. It does show some backside snow showers across northern Georgia, as well as parts of northern Alabama and Mississippi there. But for those areas, any accumulations are going to be very, very minimal. Now, taking it forward here to Thursday evening, this is now Thursday, 4 p.m., heavy snow is breaking out across much of North Carolina, and according to the NAM model, it does take the moderate to heavy snow across much of southern Virginia and even into parts of southern Maryland, as well as southern Delaware. Now, this particular run is the far northern extent of our solutions right now, looking at the model data. So this is definitely more aggressive for southern Virginia, as well as Maryland and even Delaware. But the general consensus is a major winter storm is coming for most of North Carolina, with the exceptions being coastal areas, especially near Wilmington, where pretty much an all-rain scenario is looking likely. But even the Wilmington area could see some snow out of the system, especially on the tail end of it. And as you can see here, the NAM even turns parts of South Carolina here over to some snow at the very end, which could result in some accumulations, but nothing too significant. Now, taking it out here to Thursday night, the mixed line is beginning to approach Wilmington, North Carolina. Even the Outer Banks are starting to get in on the snow here as we head into early parts of Friday morning. So for these areas, it's going to be very close to the Outer Banks, whether they end up turning over to snow. But I will say, if these areas do turn over to snow like the NAM is showing, it's going to snow at a very, very heavy rate, which will allow for significant accumulations. Now, with that being said, the NAM model is the most aggressive. Not only is it the most aggressive for the northern areas, it's also the most aggressive solution in general in terms of how heavy the precipitation actually falls. So, according to the NAM model, this actually does print out a large area of 6 to 12 inches, if not more, mainly across North Carolina here, and even into parts of southern Virginia. Now, again, this is a very aggressive scenario, but the general consensus, even half of that, is still a major winter storm for these areas that normally, with the exceptions being, of course, the mountainous region, but a lot of these areas closer to the coastal regions, they average 3 to 6 inches of snow per winter season. So to see that all in one storm is definitely a major winter storm for these areas. Now, for the northern areas, as we get into central Virginia and southern Maryland, they normally see a little bit more snow, so it's not as big of a deal, but still, this is the winter of 2019 and 2020, as most of you know that live anywhere pretty much south and east of Interstate 81. There really hasn't been much snow at all this winter. So a couple inches is definitely a big deal for this particular season. It's unfortunate for snow lovers, but it's just how it has been going so far this year. Now, for these areas, many of you are wondering, like, how is it going to snow? We're in the 40s, 50s, even 60 degrees the past day or so. We'll take a look at the temperatures here. So we're going to start off with, this is today, and you can already see the cold is beginning to enter the region going into this afternoon. Right now, the expected high temperatures are going to be in the upper 40s, around 50 degrees, and a little bit warmer on the near the coastal areas. Now, the mountain regions are the opposite. You'll see temperatures maybe reach the lower 40s today. But let's get into where the snow will actually be falling. So this is now Thursday mid-morning. This is 10 a.m. And you can see many areas will still be above freezing as the precipitation arrives. So this will initially prevent the snow from accumulating, but as the system begins to get closer to the area and the precipitation rates pick up in intensity, temperatures will drop. As you can see, the NAM now brings many areas even closer to the coast into the lower to middle 30s, and the far interior or and the higher elevations are now below the freezing mark. This will allow for snow to rapidly accumulate in many of these areas, especially, again, the center of this storm does seem to be focused on North Carolina in general. These areas are definitely going to see several inches, if not maybe even double digits if the NAM is correct in terms of snowfall totals. Now we're just taking it out here further. You can see this is going to be a heavy wet snow. So trees and power lines, they could take a hit in terms of, if you get 4, 5, 6 inches of essentially heavy wet snow, which is basically like cement on those trees and power lines, can definitely bring down a couple tree limbs and even maybe even trees in general. And then the power lines could also droop and whatnot, and that could cause some power outages across these areas. But let's hope that does not happen and the NAM model is incorrect in terms of how much snow actually does fall over these areas. Now let's take a look here at the snowfall map. So this is what many of you are interested in seeing. And like I said, the NAM model is really aggressive. Again, it's more aggressive than the rest of the models in terms of how far north the snow expands. So parts of southern Virginia and into much of northern North Carolina here are in the 6 to even, again, this is the NAM model, it's very aggressive. 6 to 12 inches and 12 to 16 inches, especially, again, across northern parts of North Carolina. Again, I'm not going to say this is a forecast by any means. This is a very aggressive scenario. But definitely, if you wanted to prepare for the worst solution, definitely take into account the NAM solution here. It is definitely not... It's definitely not off the table by any means, but it's just not something we are comfortable with forecasting just yet. Now let's take a look at a much less aggressive scenario, I should say, as the American model, the GFS. Now we use the GFS for usually when storms are 3, 4, 5 days out and beyond, and we usually look at the NAM model when a system begins to get into inside of 48 hours. So we're like right at the line right now of inside 48 hours. That's why we are focusing on the NAM as much as we are. But the GFS is still a possible scenario as well. And honestly, we like the middle ground right now between these two solutions. So we're going to take this out here. It has the general same scenario. Snow breaking out across interior parts of North Carolina, as well as eastern Tennessee, going into late Thursday morning and early afternoon. And as the low pressure begins to gain, it's still a very weak low pressure, but it does gain a little bit in intensity across the southeast coast here. This allows for the snow to break out across much of North Carolina, with the exceptions being, of course, the coastal areas. Now, this is a more southern track compared to the NAM, which allows for a fair amount of South Carolina getting in on the snow, as well as northern parts of Georgia. So for those areas that want snow, definitely root for the GFS solution here, because it is definitely a colder scenario as well as a more southerly track. Now, with that being said, it's also a little less aggressive in terms of precipitation rates. Now, this is still a major snowstorm for much of North Carolina here into parts of even southern or South Carolina, I should say, as well as far southeast Virginia. These areas still pick up several inches of snow according to GFS. And we'll just take this out here. Snow still lingers through early parts of Friday morning. By the time many of us are waking up Friday morning around 8 a.m., the snow will begin to exit for those areas, and by Friday afternoon we are in the clear. Now, looking at the GFS snow map here, and you'll see it's much less aggressive compared to the short-range NAM model. And we are certainly liking a middle ground scenario. We can see, we'll just do a quick comparison here of the, this is the GFS snow map, and this is your the NAM snow map. So the GFS and NAM are not too similar right now in terms of snowfall amounts, but we can generally agree that Raleigh, North Carolina, and the Raleigh-Durham area, that seems to be the centerpiece right now for who can see the most snowfall. Right now, as well as interior parts of North Carolina and the mountains, these areas are definitely going to be in line for 3 to 6 inches of snow, if not more. We don't want to go out and say that the NAM solution is going to be right here with these double-digit snowfall totals, but it's definitely possible. Now, for those areas that are living, or for those that are living in southern Virginia, right now I would definitely plan on, according to GFS, you can plan on maybe a coating of 1 inch, while the NAM model you can plan on for 10 to 12 inches of snow. So that's a very, very tricky call right now. But again, this is likely overdone, maybe even too far north. So right now I would definitely say plan on for anywhere from 1 to 3 inches of snow, with the potential for much more than that if the NAM solution does hold up. Now, we have a lot to narrow down, of course, over the course of the next 48 hours, so please stick it here with us to our YouTube channel, as we will cover more regarding this winter storm, as well as much more going on in the future. Again, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're almost at that 3,000 mark. We do definitely appreciate every subscriber out there. And if you have any questions, please leave a comment on our comment section below, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Until the next video, you guys have a great day.